I'm making this video as a guide, maybe perhaps a something to look forward to if you ever have to kick someone out of your house and you're not able to. Uh, as far as you know, there's a law called the common law, and where you basically have someone move in, whether it be a roommate or something like that, to help you pay bills, and then it just all goes down to hell from there. Recently, I have had a roommate that moved in, everything was fine, and then one day I got home, and I don't know how or what made me look, but I looked into the room, and there was this large amount of Xanax. From Obviously, from what I could tell, I work with medicine. I know what it looked like. It was a whole bunch of alprazolam just laid out, and from just looking at it, I could tell there was like 140 or 150 pills just laid out. And I asked the roommate. I said, you know, how did you get all this medicine like that? And they were just like, oh, it's just from a doctor or whatever, a prescription or whatever. And I'm thinking, why is it laid out? It's not in a medicine bottle. Where's your medicine bottle? And they were like, oh, I lost it. And I was just like, oh, okay. I said, where did you get it? What was the doctor's name? And he mentioned the doctor's name. And I said, well, you know, I work with a lot of doctors, so I know where they're at and where they're stationed at and what their buildings look like and their offices and all that. I said, well, they couldn't verify what the office looked like, what street it was on, nothing. And I was just flat out just lying, and I was just like, oh my God, all this medicine's just sitting here. It's illegal. It's not prescribed, and I don't think many doctors out there would cough up a 3-month supply for someone at the age of 30 or whatever to anyone like that. Most doctors kind of don't want to do that. Not even a psychiatrist or nothing like that. And so, during those nights from discovering something like this, when I started to make up my mind about kicking this person out, was the fact that I couldn't sleep because they were up all night long. I mean, all night long. Not one drop of sleep. And I'm thinking, what in the hell are you doing? I mean, it was a crazy. I work a shift from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 12 hours of work. And so when I go to bed at 9 o'clock at night, because I have to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning, this person did not go to sleep all night long from 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock to 3 to 5 o'clock in the morning, just completely just wired and wide awake. And I was thinking, some people have strange reactions to Xanax where they kind of get wired when they take it. And so the second day, the same thing, just loud sounds, just ridiculous, just crazy. And I'm thinking, don't they have to go to work the next day? How are they doing this? And sure enough, they'd be up all night long, and then I have to go to work, and then I find out they're at work, wide awake, all day long, working, and then still not sleeping that night again. And I'm thinking, how in the world are they doing this? And then that's where I found a pipe of some kind of drug paraphernalia, and I put two and two together that there was something going on that was keeping them up all night. And long story short, it was methamphetamine, and so now I'm thinking, okay, now I have all this medicine that's illegal, and then this drug, this nasty, trashy drug, in my home that I purchased myself back in '98. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So I called the police, and I know what you're thinking. You're calling the police, and this stuff's in here, and I just didn't know what else to do. I found myself sleeping in my car from midnight till 3 in the morning in my back seat, having to get up cold at 30 degrees during December, having to get up and go to work and work a 12-hour shift. My coworkers are like, you look like crap. I'm thinking, yeah, didn't say too much, but you would too if you were sleeping in the back of a car. It was just horrible. And I ended up calling the police, and I knew what they were going to say about the common law and all that. I just didn't know the extremity, how extreme this was about not being able to kick someone out. they basically said there's nothing we could do about it. And this person that I was trying to kick out had some information about this, common law from I don't know who. They were very well. They had a lot of knowledge over it, and so I got so desperate, I got so upset. I told the cops, "There's drugs in my house right now. All you gotta do is just take 5 steps, and it's in there." And they were like, "Oh well, there's nothing we can do about it." And they pretty much just got in their cars and left. And I was just like, "Oh my God!" So here's the point of the story. I had to go and write out a letter and type out a letter telling the tenant, is what they go by, that they got to fix this, they got to stop this, blah 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 blah. They're causing nuisance and keeping up, disturbing the peace, da 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 da, and sign it and everything. And this person just pretty much balled it up and threw it at me. And so I said, okay, well I did my part. I made my copy. I signed it and everything, dated it and everything, and I explained everything thoroughly and detail, and I had to go to the justice of the peace. And that's the second step I had to do. I had to pay I don't know, I think it was $120 to get a piece of paper for them to take out for a deputy to get. And then what they do, it's an eviction to a notice to vacate form, and they plaster it on the. No, first they serve it to the person. And they asked me where they work and everything. And I said, well, apparently I think they work here or there. I didn't really know where they were working at. I understood where they were working at, but that doesn't mean they were working there. I didn't keep up with this person like that. They were just a roommate and everything. Apparently, from what I knew what their employment was, I said, this is where they work at. So the next day, they were like, well, they don't work there. I said, so you're telling me you still have that piece of paper? And they were like, yes. And I was like, well, what are you going to do now? So they basically said they were going to plaster it on the side of my door where they enter. And I said, okay, well, you're just wasting these days so this notice to vacate can take place. And from what I remember, it was 15 days here in the state of Texas. And so I had to get on them on the phone and tell them to plaster it on my door so these days can start counting down. And they finally did it on day 3. And I was just like, oh my God, I paid all this money, and you're not even just, I had to call and nudge you and remind you to do something like this. And I was just like, oh my God. They finally plastered it on there. I said, okay, now this person's now got the idea that I mean business. And so at this time, I was kind of worried because technically you can't keep them out of the house. They still have the right to go in. And I was just like, my God, even with these drugs and threatening and jib-jabbering, when you're on this meth and you're tweaking, you're not thinking properly. You're 10 steps ahead. Your mind's still trying to catch up. People under the influence of medicine like XANAX or meth or whatever, you just don't know what they're going to do. And you're in the same house and you're sleeping in the same, environment. And I was just like, man, this is just crazy. Well, apparently this person decided to move in with some friend. I don't know who it was. I was like, that's good. That's okay. And so they didn't know about this notice to vacate sign. It said the days were counting down and counting down and counting down. And it was day 12 out of 15. And that's when they finally realized. And because the sign was gone, I came back to work one day. The sign was missing. And I said, well, they must have gotten the sign. Good. And that's when I started getting all these nasty harassment text messages. I think I had 160 text messages within a 48-hour period. I had to download an app that could download the text messages onto the computer, email in a PDF format. I had to download that because Lord knows if I had to go to court, I would need that because it was just some bad stuff on there. And that's where some of the text messages, they were saying how they broke down and said that they were taking, all them drugs that I suspected, which was obvious. If you're not sleeping all night and then you still have the energy to go to work and then come home and then you're still up all night and then you go back to work all day long and then you come back and then you still don't sleep and probably not even eat. It doesn't take a brain scientist to figure that out. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And so I don't know what happened. This idiot ended up going to jail or something like that. And I said, okay, well, this is good. I have free time not to worry about anything. And sure enough, the date of the trial date for me to go to a judge and tell them why I had to kick someone out was just so silly. I was just like, oh my God, this is how this common law works. I had to tell all my business to the judge, which was funny because when I went there, I was at work and I had to leave, clock out, put on this nice attire or this clothes, this stupid tie that I haven't tied a damn tie in forever. I had done forgot. I had to go on YouTube and look it up and go in front of a judge. And it was so funny because no one was in there yet. This was like the eviction day for them to do this. And so I remember the deputy was like, all rise. And I looked behind me and I was like, ain't nobody in here. And it was so funny. But I stood up, and I was trying to remember all the mannerisms and say your honor and all this junk. Previously I'd watched Judge Judy just to kind of catch up on mumbo jumbo lingo that they use, and it came in handy, believe it or not. The judge was real nice though, and he understood, and he said there was nothing that the defendant could do since they were incarcerated, and so that I won by default. Which, in any ways, I still would have won by default anyway, because I had all this audio and video recording and all that crap, and none of it came into play since this person was locked up. There was nothing they could do about it. So I got my court costs back. I don't know how I'm going to get that money back. I guess they're going to garnish it or something like that. I don't know if you know how that's going to happen. But it was just a nightmare of having to get rid of something like this, all when I'm coming off this antidepressant medication that I was on. And hey, that's one of the triggers why I was like that to begin with. It's all over with now, and I'm a lot better. And I'm still med-free. And I just wanted to make this video, give people an idea what they have to go through just to kick someone out. And my advice to you is to get on Google. Google is your friend, remember, and do what you can. If you have to type in the county that they live in, if it's Smith County or whatever it is, Google it, type in Smith County, and then type in judicial records, and then go from there. And you'd be surprised what you get. Kind of like a little criminal background check. And it works out, because when I typed in the judicial records for this person, the list was this long, and I was just like, oh my God, if I would have known this, I would have never done that. They had it coming, and this person's still incarcerated, and I already know that they had an addiction problem with this, obviously, because I have a video of this person just in my yard, just tweaking so hard, just so messed up, and messing up their brand new car, and I was just shaking my head going, my God. It's so sad that, from this history of these records that I've seen, and now that this person, ever since they've been evicted officially from my house, they've been in jail 3 more times. And I have a feeling that this is just, it's sad, because this is going to be an everyday thing for the rest of their lives. I'm not trying to, wish them that, but at the route that they're going and the addiction that they have, and previously I've known that they had an addiction with alcohol, which was horrible. I put up with it though, and of course, if you have an addiction problem, you have to replace it with something else. Well, I'm not an alcoholic now, and then they replace it with pills, and then something else. In this case, methamphetamine. I hate saying that word. That's horrible. I have a feeling that all these mugshots that I'm looking at this person, it's just going to keep on manifesting. It's just going to keep on going and going and going. It's a sad way. Most people that go into jail like that, they just keep coming back and back and back and back, and it's just forever. Sometimes they grow out of it. They hit rock bottom. But I see that sometimes people, when they go to jail, and if not prison, because this person is going on a third DWI. They're just going to get worse when they go in prison. You start learning all these nasty behaviors and, survival mode, and having to lie and steal and all that. And then they get out and they go into the real world and they don't have anything. And it's just, I don't know, it's just real sad. And I have a feeling this person is just going to live like that for the rest of their lives, because I don't see them stopping. They've been doing this since they were 19 and they're 32 years old. And, I've never been to jail. I don't want to go to jail, and I aim to keep it that way. That's why I stay at home and I mind my own business. So I'm making this video. I'm not trying to be random or nothing like that, just to let people know what to expect when they evict someone. It's not easy, and do your homework before you do, because it takes time, and it took money out of my paycheck to go and do this stupid trial thing. It was just silly. and it costs money, and good luck if you have to. And I wish you luck if you're watching this and you have to deal with something like that.